Thank you so much to the British Blockchain Association for inviting me onto this forum. My name is Dr. Burhan Ahmed. I am the CEO and co-founder of BlockckMed Pro. I'm also a practicing GP within the NHS. I have a couple of other roles within the NHS as a PCN clinical director and also medical secretary for the Kirklees LMC. I've been in kind of entrepreneurship within the healthcare industry for a number of years now, and currently with my different roles, we're managing around £4 million worth of NHS contracts every year. And with blockchain specifically, we founded BlockckMed Pro along with my three other co-founders in 2024. I'm going to share hopefully a little bit of insight in terms of what we've been working on over the last 18 months or so. I'm going to start off just very briefly in terms of the sort of problems that we're looking to address. So as we know with the healthcare system, and this is the same whether it's in the NHS or whether it's in other jurisdictions as well, is that currently with patient data, it's fragmented across multiple different providers, across different systems, and the ownership sits with those providers rather than patients. So there is not much work going on in relation to patient empowerment globally. The NHS has led some of that in relation to the NHS app, but a lot of the access is still quite limited. The consent mechanism is very opaque, and the value that's generated by that health data is actually captured by those providers rather than patients themselves. There's very little engagement through some of the tech that we see currently, even with the NHS and the NHS app. Recently, we've had a lot of increasing use of AI, and I think even in the healthcare space, that's shone a spotlight on some of its limitations, particularly around access to data sources, data sets, and whether it's authentic data and where that data is actually coming from. And all of this in combination can lead to problems with delays in care, with misdiagnoses or duplication of work. Now, we saw blockchain as a solution because the way the technology is with blockchain is that it can provide a fully distributed, immutable record of health data, and that would allow a full global interoperability because we envisage the health data following the patient rather than the providers moving the data around. That allows for a lot more empowerment of patients. It allows them to have full access and control and transparent audit trails in terms of what happens with that data. And eventually it leads us to an ecosystem where we have a very high trust in relation to where that data is shared. It can share at scale and without necessarily involving a lot of the intermediaries. Very briefly on blockchain. Now, I'm probably aware that a lot of you probably know what blockchain is, bearing in mind the forum that I'm in at the moment. But just very basically, blockchain is a secure shared digital ledger. It stores the data in blocks and they're linked chronologically. And once it's added, that data can't be changed. It's immutable. And then every action itself is time-stamped and it's recorded as well. And the way to kind of think about that is like a passport stamp. So, and I'll get onto that in the next slide as well, is that when you go into a country, you get the stamp and you know when you've gone into that country and you know which country you've gone into, but it doesn't necessarily link to give you the information about what your itinerary is, for instance. So smart contracts very briefly, and we are incorporating them within our platform, our self-executing rules, which are stored on the blockchain. So very much like a vending machine analogy, which is if you go to a vending machine, you put in some coins, you put in a code, it will go through a particular algorithm and it will execute a certain set of rules and you'll get your drink on the other side. Blockchain crucially doesn't rely upon a central server, it's distributed across a network. So that means that everyone sees the same version of that data and no hidden edits, there's no lost data, and that creates an unbreakable chain of trust, which is crucial for things like healthcare data. Specifically in relation to healthcare, we know that raw patient data is very sensitive information, so we can't actually store that raw data on the blockchain. However, what we've done is we're creating that timestamp reference, which is called a hash, and storing that metadata instead on the blockchain along with the access keys. And therefore, we're regarding the blockchain as a digital notary. It confirms that the data is valid, it's unedited, it's ethically sourced, but it doesn't expose the index data itself. As a clinician from a healthcare perspective, you don't necessarily need to interact with the blockchain directly, but you can use a platform like ourselves, a BlockckMed Pro, that allows you to see that data. It allows you to see the history of that data, what the patient current consent status is, and also it will actually verify if that external data is genuine and unaltered. And that helps with things like researchers and trial sponsors, for instance, who can verify that data for their real-world evidence and decentralized trials and ensures it comes from real patients and it hasn't been tampered with. And that's sort of some of the use cases that we see in action around blockchain in healthcare, and particularly the one that we're focusing on, which is that cross-border health access. So the patient themselves, we're empowering them with their records and their health data, and they move that data around with them, whether they go from one clinic to another clinic, whether they go from primary care to secondary care to mental health to community care, or indeed if they go from one country to another country. Our current status at the moment is that we are optimizing our MVP, getting it ready to launch this year. And the MVP's function at the moment is to allow patients to securely retrieve their full NHS primary record data, currently via subject access request mechanism, but we are in the process of integrating with the IM1 for NHS, and that will allow us to access legacy EHR systems within primary care general practice. That data is anonymized and it's stored off-chain with the relevant metadata and access keys kept on-chain. And provided the patient consents to it, they can allow pharma companies to have access to that data set, and they can earn from those data cells. This is just a couple of very quick screenshots in relation to what our MVP currently looks like. That's the landing page for our patient portal. This is the reward section in terms of earnings. And then from the other side is the pharmaceutical dashboard, where we will be where we have access to a compiled data set. So the pharma companies will be able to purchase the data individually or in bulk, and then they can actually segment that data and break it down by disease process, by medication, by pathology result, and via other SNOMED related read codes. And that's just the data purchasing aspect of the pharmaceutical dashboard. Our roadmap going forward is that we are in the process of developing a full blockchain-based EHR platform, and we envisage that to be a single patient record for that individual patient. We will be targeting NHS patients, but the aim is that we will be looking at international coverage as well and expanding into wider markets. We are looking to integrate with wearables for producing more richer data sets, which will help with some of the AI-powered personalized care planning that we are looking at later on down the line, and with some of the machine learning. The pharma module will be expanded further as well, and the aim is to be able to run some of the decentralized trials on our platform. Just very briefly, the National Blockchain Roadmap from the BBA encourages the quadruple helix model, and that's very much something that we, in our ecosystem, are really promoting, because that really fits in with that model about uniting patients, clinicians, researchers, and public services and regulators as well, to look to accelerate that blockchain adoption. Very briefly on the market, we know the market for blockchain-based healthcare by 2030 is set to be around $120 billion. Our market that we're looking to capture with our marketing and sales strategy is around $1 billion when we look to launch. The next steps for us, like I've mentioned, we're launching our MVP this quarter. We have letters of intent from a couple of pharma companies. We've actually working with pharma company right from the beginning, and that pharma company is Menarini, which is an Italian UK-based pharmaceutical company. We also have initial early adopter sites as well. So we've got around 15 GP practices within the West Yorkshire area that are signed up, and that's around 100,000 patients that we're looking to target in Q3 to onboard onto our platform. We are opening up a seed round investment in this quarter, and we are looking at the integration of IM1 in Q4 with the eventual rollout of the EHR platform with the pharmacy and clinic modules built in by 2026. So that was just a little whistle-stop tour of BlockckMed Pro and what we're doing at the moment. We would very welcome people come and speak to myself. I've got my email down there as well, burhan@blockckmedpro.com. Very happy to take a conversation or any questions now or afterwards if we're a bit short on time. But our main vision is that we want to really empower patients with their data, particularly the healthcare data, and not just patients, but people generally. We want to elevate their care. We want people to adopt blockchain because we feel that the blockchain allows that empowerment very easily, particularly for sensitive data like healthcare data. And we eventually want to create a one true record for every patient within the healthcare space. And that's it from myself. So thank you very much for the BBA and Deborah for inviting me on.
Couldn't be more on time, Dr. Burhan. That was absolutely to the second, and the content was absolutely superb. So yeah, as I said, if anybody has any questions or queries, we can share Dr. Burhan's email, or if you've anything you want to kind of ask us, I'm sure, Burhan, if you want to share the deck with anybody as well, we're more than happy to do that for you.